Hello everyone. My name is Elise. Welcome to my channel. I hope you're all doing so good today. We are doing my first check-in of the year, a quarterly check-in for my stats and goals. I am excited, cautiously excited, let's say, because I think I'm doing okay in the goals. I haven't done a thorough checking, so this is going to be a little bit of a surprise for me as I go through to see if I've completed them. But I always enjoy looking at some facts and figures about my reading. I feel like it helps me to kind of like target where I want my reading to go a little bit, and I find that very useful. So hopefully you're down for the journey with me, and let me know if you have any specific goals that you're trying to do this year. So without further ado, let's go ahead and firstly get into some stats. We're not going to do too many, but just a few, and then we'll get into goals after that. So at the end of March, I had read 22 books. My reading goal for the year, I set it at 75. I kind of have done that the last few years because it tends to be pretty easy for me to meet that. So I think I'm like slightly ahead, a couple books ahead to meet that at this point. So 22 books at the end of March. Feel pretty good about that. My overall average rating for the year so far, I don't rate every book on my channel, but I keep track on my own to be able to sort through my books better, to make videos. And so far my average rating is higher than it has been in previous years, so that's why I'm bringing it up here. I'm at exactly a 4.0 for the year, which is really good. I will say, I wouldn't have thought I'm like having the best quality reading year without looking at that, even though that is slightly higher. I think normally I'm at a 3.8. But what I will say, and what I have noted before, is that my reading in terms of quality has been very stable. So I haven't had a ton of high highs, I haven't had a ton of low lows, and I think that has helped it to stay around that 4.0 mark. I would say the rating that I have the highest volume of books for is always a 4, but haven't had a ton of 5s, but I've also haven't had a ton of 2 stars. So it's balancing out well. So that's good news for what lies ahead. And I'm also about my standard breakdown between nonfiction and fiction. I think right now I've read about like 20% of my reading nonfiction, 80% of my reading fiction. That's pretty standard for me. I think last year it was like 25 to 75. So that feels like a good amount, but I am sort of thinking in the back of my mind that I need to get to some more nonfiction, mostly because my nonfiction shelves are a little bit out of control right now. So I'm trying to actively read them down a bit more. So we'll see if maybe I can do a future challenge around that to motivate me to read some more. But yeah, those I think are all the stats I'm going to go over today. I'm not going to do much more than that, and we'll just be able to get right into the goals because I find that a little bit more intriguing. So firstly, this year I have less goals than normal. I talked about this in the 2024 goals video that I put out last month, and that's just because I'm trying to really target specific things and give myself a little bit more wiggle room to really focus on them. And also I want to be doing more in the moment challenges as well. So we'll see how that goes and how that all shakes out. But the first goal, and the one that I am most ardently trying to accomplish this year, is my tracking books in and out. What this is I'm wanting the books coming onto my TBR to match my books coming out of my TBR. Even better if there's a deficit. The way that I track this, I talked about this so many times before, so boop right ahead if you've already heard this. But my books in are any book that I am choosing to bring into my TBR only. So if I buy a book that I've already previously read, it goes with my read books. I'm not counting that. Also, if I get a gift, I'm not counting that because I want to enjoy it, for it to be a gift. So just books that I'm purchasing or getting from a little free library on my own that I willingly chose to bring in, and it's going on my TBR. Okay, so my books out is only books that I am reading off of my physical TBR, and I have to read them to completion. So this doesn't count library books that I read to completion. It doesn't count books that I borrow from someone else that I'm then giving back to them. It doesn't count books from my own TBR that I'm starting to read and then DNF and on haul doesn't count any of those. These end up, my like special rules that I do for myself end up kind of matching out, but it works for me. Who knows why, but it works for me. So this is the goal that I am trying to accomplish this year. This is now the third year that I've had it on my goals list, and it is the only one that has eluded me over the past couple of years. So this year I am determined, and so far I feel in a pretty good spot. So at the end of March, my books in for the year were at 18. My books out for the year were at 15. So I'm only 3 off. I know that's not like exactly where it should be because I am slightly off, but only 3 is totally doable. And I always know that my January haul is going to be pretty big, and I'm probably not going to be able to read the amount to catch up to that. So I feel really good about it actually at this point, and I'm going to try and stay on top of it. So fingers crossed for me. Keep me honest. We'll see at that halfway point check-in in the middle of the year how I'm doing. I think that one will be very telling. But so far I feel pretty good about it. So that's the first goal. Second goal is to read 3 books over 500 plus pages. I call these Picante Beef Babies, and I had a goal similar to this last year, but it was at 5. This year it's only at 3, and mostly that's just because I don't own a lot of these large books, and the hope is that I'll read at least most of them off of my TBR. So for this, I'm not doing great because I haven't read one yet, but I am planning to pick up one this month. I'm gonna pull my stack of books from down here, and then I have a couple other options that I'm thinking about getting to. So if you saw my TBR for the month of April, I'm planning to pick up Wellness by Nathan Hill. This is published by Knopf, and I will be picking this up at the end of the month. I imagine it's gonna spill into May, but I am eagerly anticipating getting to this. So I'm really excited, and this will be picked up shortly. So there's that one. A couple other ones that I have out that I'm thinking might be options for this, because again, I think other than the 2 I'm going to show you, I think there are only 2 more on my shelves. So these are both ones that I've picked up in my little free library that's on my street within the past few months or so. First one being Demon Copperhead by Kingsolver. This is published by Harper. And of course, I've heard great things about this. It has been much beloved and had a lot of critical success. And I do think I will like the story. It's a retelling of David Copperfield in a modern day Appalachia and is tackling the opioid epidemic. So I have no doubt that this will be very good, and I do want to get to it. So that's another potential option for the future. And then the other one I picked up from a little free library recently is Barkskins by Proulx. This one is published by Scribner. This one's huge. Like this, I don't even know how many pages this is. This is over 700 pages, but I've always wanted to read an Proulx. You might say reading News of the World is the more logical option because it's much smaller, but this one, again, was free in my little free library, and it does sound interesting. She is supposed to be the queen of historical fiction, and this follows 2 Barkskins. I think it's a dual POV story, one that stays in the profession and one that flees. And yeah, it sounds very intriguing, and hopefully I will like this. I haven't heard a lot of people review this because it's older. So if you have read this, please tell me what you thought of it. But this is also definitely an option that I'm thinking of getting to. So those are a few possibilities. Next goal that we have is to finish, aka complete, 3 different series. Again, hearkening back to my original goals video, the reason why I'm wanting to do this is not because I'm in the middle of a bunch of them. I don't read a ton of things that are in series anyway, but occasionally from time to time, I do dip into a series, and I want to make sure I'm preemptive and don't let it spiral out of control, that I keep starting some and then don't finish. And I'm happy to say that I have already completed 1 series off of my list for this year. That is the Tea Dragon series by Kay O'Neill. These are published by Oni Press. And this year I read the 3rd installment, which is the Tea Dragon Tapestry, this one, and it is the final installment in that series. So this was lovely. I'm happy I got a series checked off. I did start with like the easiest one to check off for me because I only needed to finish one book to complete the series, and it's a short graphic novel. But I did it. I'm taking it. Yay me. A couple of the other series that I'm thinking about getting to this year are firstly the Sherlock Holmes series. I have the headline editions. These are by Arthur Conan Doyle. And I started this series last year. I'm wanting to finish it this year. I have 4 left. These are the 4 that I still need to read. And I think that should be doable for me. But again, 4 left to read in order to completely finish off the series. And this goal really is like completely finish off a series. It's not get up to date in an ongoing series. I am actively doing that as well, but this is like complete series that have already all been published, and this would definitely work for that. So 4 more, thinking I will do this as well. And then for the last one in this goal, I'm thinking at this moment in time that I will be completing the Wolf Den trilogy. I have 2 more books in this series to finish. House with the Golden Door is the 2nd book, and The Temple of Fortuna is the 3rd book. I really enjoyed the Wolf Den, but I read it I think like 2 years ago now, so I might need a little bit of a refresher before going in. And I want to get to these sooner rather than later because I don't want to fully forget the Wolf Den, and I don't want to have to reread it, honestly. So hoping I will get to these, and again, I really enjoyed them, so I think I will like reading them. Otherwise, I wouldn't be putting them on here. So these might be the 3rd series that I try to finish off this year. I do have a couple other ones that I am in where all of the books in the series have come out. We'll see what I end up doing, but that's what I'm thinking so far. All right, so just one more goal to check in with, and that is my reading 1 translated book a month. This is another one that I have every year on my TBR, and like I say every year, it's to make sure that I'm consistently picking up translated books and not just grouping them at certain points of the year, which is important for me, and I will always keep this as a goal on my TBR because of that. And this I have done so far. I've read 1 book each month so far this year. Interestingly, in January and February, I only read 1 translated book, which is really low for me. But I've said before, I'm trying to actively read through a lot of my backlist from like books I bought 5+ years ago, and a lot of those aren't translated. So I do think it is going to be a year for me that has less translated books than normal. We'll see. I'm still going to be reading plenty. Like in March, I think I read 5 translated books, so really made up for it. I have done this so far and will continue on for this goal. So those are all of these specific goals that I want to complete. The other thing that I mentioned is trying to do more in the moment challenges. And this I haven't really done so far, and it's because my reading has been a little bit all over the place. But I do want to start getting to this shortly. I have a few ideas in mind, but I'm definitely curious to hear from all of you if there are any specific challenges that you would be interested in seeing. Some that I'm thinking about doing are a take on a read it or unhaul it type of challenge. I've mentioned way in the past that my shelves are loosely organized by the cube that they're in, mostly just by like hardback, paperback, nonfiction, fiction, and then I keep my poetry and graphic works in a separate place as well. So I'm thinking of doing a series where I pick 1 cube and pull from a jar, reading books from that cube for like a week or 2 to get through again some backlist. That could be fun. And a couple other things that are on the brain. So let me know again if there's anything you would specifically be interested in, or if you like that read it or unhaul it type of challenge, because I am interested in it. And yeah, that's the goal so far in the first quarter of the year, and a few stats along the way. Thank you for stopping by and spending some time with me and checking in about my reading, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.